We will go ahead and get started. So welcome to today's edition of our monthly office hours. Today we have myself, I'm Kelsey, Senior Product Marketing Manager for PropertyIntel. We've got Kurt, Senior Product Business Owner, Joshua Martin, Manager of Products, and with his very own slide, Zach Decker, Product Owner for PropertyIntel. So we'll keep it pretty short and sweet today. I think we will be going through our regular agenda, first covering new features and improvements, and then Joshua will walk us through a demo of each of those new features and improvements. We'll touch on the roadmap and give any product updates that might be new and exciting. And then we will have some time at the end for open Q&A. But like always, if you have questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to drop your questions in the chat as we go along. And if it's related to something that we're talking about at that time, we'll stop and address those. If not, then we'll address them during the open time at the end. So pass it over to Joshua for new feature updates.
All right. Yeah, I want to look at a couple of different things regarding our newest features that we released this month. And so one quick one with the Aspire Sync that is just kind of improving setting some of those services has to do with the way that you are searching and finding services when you are configuring them to sync over to an Aspire estimate. And so where you would end up seeing this is within when you're in a actual project within the Aspire panel and you're configuring your items with groups and services to come over. So previously with services, we were just showing the service display name within here. And so for companies, it was confusing where a lot of times they had the same service, but it was in different divisions. And so when they were in different divisions, they had different markups. And so it caused a little bit of confusion to know which one they needed to select in order for it to post to the estimate correctly. And so one of the things that we are doing now, if you see when I click this drop down, so these are all the Aspire services coming in, we're including that division abbreviation prefix so that you can see which division it is. So in the case where you have things that may have the same name and share names, you can easily see which one you need to select and be able to search by it within it going forward. So then wanted to kind of look at a couple of different and kind of hop into a different project. A couple of different things regarding our new drawing tools that we have. So a good one that's just a little bit clearer so we can focus in on those. And so we did release a lot of different drawing tools that improvements to things that that you've been asking for, really, that users have asked for a lot over the past several months. And so one of them particularly does involve being able to delete points on a shape. And so previously you couldn't delete, like if you wanted to edit this shape at all, say you had something over here, there was a point that you needed to bring over. The only really way to edit it was to click on it and to be able to drag these points. But now today you can actually edit these points. And so I can click on these, and when I click on them, you can see this little pop-up dialog happens. And so I can toggle it from curve to straight is one. So we kind of gave that another place to be able to do that. Previously, if you wanted to do that, you had to double click just the control point, but now making a lot more explicit and discoverable by having it in that modal. But then also then you have this delete button, which allows you then to just delete that point. So just a little small thing, but a huge thing that users have been asking for to be able to do. So again, it's just when you, after your drawing, you can enter selection mode, select the shape, click on any point that you want to delete, and then just hit the delete button. If you're actively drawing and you need to delete a point, that would be just using backspace. So like if you're drawing and you put one in the wrong spot, then you can do backspace. That's been always been in the system there. Another one around kind of the similar idea is the ability to edit cutout shapes. And so before as well with the cutout tool, whether you were using our cutout overlaps to where it was removing centers and placing that material there, just using the cutout tool proper. You couldn't edit that. Once you made the cutout, it was there. There really was no way to kind of correct things. And so we've added in the ability to edit cutouts. And so if I'm just going to draw just an example cutout on this turf area here, then you can see how when I come back in, same thing, selection mode, select this shape. Now these control points are visible on this actual cutout. And so I can click and drag any of these. I can, the same way I can add points to the outside, I can hover over an edge to add points to this cutout itself. And then I can also delete points. So I can click on the point and delete it. And so quickly delete those. And then because you can't have a shape with more than or with less than 3 points, we do if you delete your third point, it's going to end up deleting that cutout as a whole. And so that's just because, you know, shapes don't, you can't have a shape. It's an invalid shape if it only has 2 points for these areas. So really good little improvement around cutouts as well. Again, it's another thing that we've seen a lot of feedback on, a lot of requests around. So then lastly, a couple of things related to some of our drawing tools that we added was some different ways to perform cutouts and then the ability to merge shapes. And so we'll look at cutouts first. And so what we did was we changed or added some new functionality in and around the cutout tool specifically. And so we left, so normal is the way that cutout overlaps worked before. And so let me just toggle on the circle tool to show this. The way that cutout overlaps in normal mode works is that if I draw, like, so if I'm drawing a mulch bed in this turf area, whenever I draw that circle and let go to place it, the cutout overlaps in normal mode is going to remove what's existing. So it removed all that turf and then it placed the mulch in the center. So it filled kind of that center cutout with the mulch. But if I were to then reverse the action, so this is what we added, the new tool was the reverse cutout. This is going to leave what's on the plan existing and kind of trim what you're drawing to that. So in this case, you can kind of see it work. If I were to come over here and draw this mulch and let it overlap this turf area, when I finish the shape, you'll see how it cuts out my turf that I was drawing, but it leaves this turf intact. So that can be helpful. Like if you're just kind of butting up against two different areas and you want them to perfectly match up to each other, that's a use case. Another use case is with when you're doing something like, say this were a parking lot island or an existing bed, and I needed to outline my turf, but I'd already done all my beds. Well, if you do the reverse cutout option, you can see how if I draw over this area, it's going to let that bed kind of punch through the turf as I'm doing it. So if you're doing parking lots, that's a huge time saver because you can go through, outline all your islands, measure those, and then just quickly measure your parking lot and have all those islands stay intact, and it conform the parking lot area to it. So that would be the new cutout tool, the reverse action of it, and then look at merge materials. So merging identical materials is a way to just do that. If you're drawing shapes and it's touching something else that's that same shape, if you have merge identical materials on, it's going to make those all just one shape rather than having a bunch of new ones. So you can see here, if I come over to this turf, overlap it, rather than it drawing a new shape that kind of double overlaps each other, when I finish it, it's going to just place the new, but it merges it with this existing. So if I select this, you can see how it's all just one shape. The area particularly where we're seeing that having some usefulness as well is pairing that with a beta feature that we have right now that we've kind of done a little bit of a closed beta right now with it, and that's the Pro Maps. And so one of the things with our Pro Map functionality, which is basically just the ability to start to do some auto measuring using some AI data sources that we have. And so but one of the things that we are seeing is an example like this to where a lot of times in these turf areas, it's not capturing everything. So you end up with these little holes and cutouts in the middle of the turf area. And so you can clean it up with that merge identical by being able to come back in and just highlight over it. And it's going to end up filling in those rather than drawing a bunch of new shapes. So it makes cleaning up some of the ProMap feature functionality really quick and fast. So, yeah, so that would be the last ones, particularly with the new stuff that we had rolling out for this month. So I'll kind of hand it back over to you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Joshua. Just a second to share again. Okay, and then jumping into the roadmap, we haven't changed a lot of this. Joshua, is there anything that you wanted to touch on specifically that might be in progress or coming up that you'd like to talk about today?
Yeah, so a lot of stuff that as you're kind of looking at towards the left side there, the reports and dashboards, we'd have rolled that out at the beginning of the year, and then advanced drawing tools was a lot of the similar things that I just showed you there. We're wrapping up a few other things related to that. One of the larger ones in that, or really there's two. One is snapping to edges and points, and so that's the ability to be able, as you're drawing, you kind of lock on to an existing shape or an edge. So that's going to be really helpful in a lot of those just kind of manual takeoff scenarios. But then also adding in a way to draw squares and rectangles. So that's a really simple thing, but it also comes up a lot to where you just want to draw a perfect square or a perfect rectangle on the side, especially if you're doing kind of the design scenario. So adding in that square tool, but then also coming into with our line tool, adding in the ability to do circles and squares also. Today, when you're drawing, measuring lines, linear distances, it's just kind of that free form where you're clicking and outlining the area. So being able to do circles and squares with that, it's going to be really useful in that advanced drawing tools. And then I think the last little bit with that one is metric units. And so for those that work in that environment where they're actually having to use metric units that's a pretty big advantage, kind of helpful feature to them. The AI system measuring, I mentioned that in our demo a few minutes ago. It's currently in a closed beta. So if you're on the webinar today and you're interested in demoing ProMaps and kind of participating in that beta, definitely just reach out to us. You can email Kelsey or myself kind of with it, and we can get you signed up and kind of get you in that loop. But we do anticipate actually probably in our May release, end of month of May, going ahead and opening that up for everyone to where they'll have the ability to be able to use that feature and interact with it. And then our Aspire integration improvements team's currently working on that. And then kind of getting into, we've started a little bit with the collaborative editing, but we'll be getting into it kind of full force here towards like end of summer to get that rolled out by the end of summer. It's probably the largest one really that you do see here that's got the most work involved with it around it. So
Awesome. Thanks, Joshua. Lots of exciting stuff coming up. Kurt, do you want to share our PI Complete reminder with everyone?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you haven't had a chance to try PropertyIntel Complete, you may want to consider it. We do the measuring for you, so frees up your time. It's as simple as placing an order, specifying which features you want, and then we take it from there. It's currently on-demand pricing. And then, of course, if you have a older portfolio, properties that you measured long ago or weren't even sure in terms of the quality of those initial measurements, our complete portfolio mapping is a way to go back and make sure everything is up to date and accurate for you. And then I did want to mention one thing we missed on the roadmap on the previous slide, and that is bulk ordering in PropertyIntel Complete. And we anticipate that to be coming up next month. It allows you to submit 5, 10, 50 properties, streamline the entire process for that, and creates different folders. So when that is released, I think you'll find that a very fast and easy way to submit bulk orders for bulk measuring. And that's it for me.
Awesome. And Kurt, just confirm for me here. I think for anyone who has not yet tried Property Intel Complete, we do offer that first one free.
Absolutely. You can go on and submit a free trial up to 5 acres, and we'll go ahead and turn it around for you. And it's a great way to see what Property Intel Complete can do for you.
Awesome. Cool. We have not had any questions come in today, which I guess is a good thing. Joshua did a great demo. But we will hang on here for another second and give it a chance for any questions to come in. Otherwise, this is being recorded, so later this afternoon, I will send out an email to anyone who was on the webinar today and anyone else who was unable to attend but did register. So if you have any questions, you'll get an email from me today. Feel free to respond, ask your questions, give any feedback. And then also, just a reminder, if you are interested in that ProMaps beta and want to join us for that last month of that closed beta, just let me know that you're interested. I'll pass your information on to Joshua and Zach, and we'll get you set up. But I think, we have one question. I've got some ideas, just send those through the idea portal. Yeah, within PI, in the little question mark down at the bottom, there is a section there to submit your ideas. So if you have some ideas, you can also feel free to set up some time with me and discuss those. But yeah, through the idea portal, we'll go straight to the product team. And then any additional context that you want to provide, we can always jump on there and talk about as well. Cool. All right. Any other questions? Feel free to shoot me an email and we'll do our best to get you the answers you're looking for. But thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you next month. Have a good one.
Thank you, everybody.